Hello guys, welcome to my channel. The less is more. So today we are going to discuss an editorial from the Hindu. Okay, and it is about the last US visit that Mr. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has visited to the US. Okay, and have made some great deal for jet engines, technology transfer, and etc. So it is about it. So let's start the editorial. Sobriety after the euphoria of the US state visit. Okay. The euphoria stemming from Prime Minister Narendra Modi's state visit to the United States in June is yet to subside. All of India continues to savor the images that mark this highly publicized visit. Those with long memories of US-India relation in the past are hence left to the wonder whether this is the same US that had let India down in the past at crucial moments. Two US presidents in particular, Lyndon B. Johnson in 1963 and Richard Nixon in 1971, are still remembered for their infamous roles in this respect. Johnson for denying aid to India in the wake of China's perfidious attack on India in 1962 and Nixon during the India-Pakistan conflict in 1971 for sending the US 7th Fleet stemming up the Bay of Bengal in a show of force intended to deter India from supporting the liberation struggle in East Bengal, which ultimately led to the birth of new nation Bangladesh. This time there was no room whatsoever to doubt in which corner the US stands in relation to India. The promise of the transfer of technology in several areas, most conspicuously in terms of producing fighter jet engines for the Indian Air Force and holding out the promise of the initiative on critical and emerging technology, marks a remarkable turn in the American attitude. All these, and with the many more agreements on critical technologies on the anvil, could lead to a quantum jump in India's military and aerospace capabilities. Many are bound to view this as an attempt by the US to persuade India to accept an alliance status vis-a-vis the US. The fine print on the recent negotiation does not, however, indicate this as a possibility at this time. Strategic ties are certain to attain new dimension, and the US side certainly hopes it could lead to a deeper, more effective and more diverse defense partnership. Yet, and despite India's attractiveness to the US as a huge market for goods and increasingly as a destination for state-of-the-art military items, there are miles to go before India is viewed as an alliance partner. Perception on what constitutes a successful visit often vary, but all things considered, the Prime Minister visit to the US this time should be deemed a major success and as enhancing India's position as a prime defense technological partner of the US. It is certain to not only favorably impact India-US relations, but also India's standing in the world. Indian visits then and now. Every Indian Prime Minister is of course entitled to his or her place in the sun. A good visit to the US by an Indian Prime Minister is generally viewed as one clear index of India's standing in the Committee of Nations. It is hence tempting to compare Mr. Modi's latest visit with that of other Indian Prime Ministers since independence. There were visits by Jawaharlal Nehru. He met with Harry S. Truman, Dwight Eisenhower and John F. Kennedy, and Lal Bahadur Shastri's visit never happened in the end, while Indira Gandhi's visit to Washington as Prime Minister was a disaster of sorts, with both India and the US having their own version of what transpired. Prime Minister Rajiv Gandhi's visit was by all accounts deemed a success, breaking many previous shibboleths. Admittedly, none of them matched the euphoria created by the visit of two later-day Prime Minister Manmohan Singh and Mr. Modi. Only the most foolhardy would possibly attempt a comparison between the visits of Prime Minister Manmohan Singh during his tenure, especially the one in 2005, and Modi's latest endeavour. The question uppermost in everyone's minds would be whether ending nuclear apartheid imposed on India after the 1974 nuclear test, Buddha is smiling, or the defense technological breakthroughs achieved during the recent visit are more significant for India's future. The civil nuclear deal marked a shift. Admittedly, the opening up of civil nuclear cooperation between India and the US marked the beginning of tectonic shift in global affairs at the start of the 21st century, unmet before or since. Securing a waiver under the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty and obtaining the approval of the US Congress for the iconic 1-2-3 agreement that paved the way for an Indian-specific safeguard agreements with the International Atomic Energy Agency subsequently were not merely unprecedented, but one-time achievement the like of which have few equals in the annals of world history. As a result, India today has the freedom to maintain a select number of reactors outside IAEA safeguards, enabling it to utilize them for military purpose. The freedom India currently enjoys for reprocessing and enrichment are other critical outcomes that stem from the visit. What is also interesting to note is that all this was achieved despite the entire US establishment, with the sole exception of President George Bush being opposed to this consensus, a testimony to the nature of the personal relation that existed between then US President George Washington Bush and Prime Minister Manmohan Singh. Seldom has such a shift been witnessed in the global arena due solely to the personal chemistry between leaders of two countries, a testimony to the civilizational attributes of two leaders at that time. During Dr. Manmohan Singh's state visit to the US in 2009, the Peace Day resistance was the exchange between two of the world's most cerebral leaders at the time, with US President Barack Obama and Dr. Manmohan Singh. Mr. Obama's remark at the start of his private meeting with Singh, "You are my guru," says it all. What follows was an avalanche of results, and there was no obvious quid pro quo expected or sought for. Both in 5 and 9, it was evident that it was India's reputation as a civilizational entity that seemed to weigh with US leaders at that time. Be cautious, look at history. The United States of the 21st century is certainly different in many respects from the US in the late 20th century. In the euphoria that exists following Mr. Modi's visit, it is however desirable for India to be cautious and heed the lessons of history. India certainly is not, at least at this stage, the kind of ally that US seeks or demands. Moreover, US politics is currently in the state of flux, more so than at most times in the past. The individual preferences of the US president in office and the swing factor in US foreign policy are other aspects that foreign countries, India included, can seldom comprehend adequately. India again is not unfamiliar with the way the US changes its priorities and friends. Consequently, and despite the warmth of the reception accorded to Mr. Modi in Washington, India should realize that it cannot at any time be the kind of ally that US seeks. Sober leaders on both sides must also understand that the current euphoria in relation, notwithstanding the situation, has been dictated due to circumstances rather than conviction. This must not be lost sight of by India in particular. For instance, India cannot possibly be part of an arrangement such as the AUKUS Pact that binds the US with UK and Australia. The fundamentals underlying the Quad and AUKUS are very different. India must instead use the outcome of the Prime Minister's visit to skillfully function as a bridge power. It is eminently suited to play such a role and should not be invaded through blandishments such as defense ties to play the role of subordinate to the US in the politics of the Asia Pacific. India's potential should be marshaled to act as a bridge between conflicting parties in the Indo-Pacific, in West Asia and in Europe. This could be the enduring legacy of the Prime Minister's latest visit to the US, which has occasioned so much of interest not only in the US and India, but across the world. It is for India to seize the moment and play its rightful role. So, So this was the editorial about US state visit of Mr. Narendra Modi, and okay, and so author is saying that the India must not forget the history, because we are not unfamiliar with the how the US changed its course and its friends. Okay, so it is so we must go and must uphold our values. And right now, why US is wants deeper ties with India? Because they need India to counter China, and so it is not the conviction that comes that is between the India US ties, but it would be the circumstances that led to the joining of both together. So we must not forget, okay, that the US, what Mr. Henry Kissinger says, that US has no permanent friends and no permanent enemies. US has interest. Okay, so that is what we also have to keep in mind. Okay, so we should not get in the euphoria of this state visit, because whatever they are giving might be on the, because they need India, and everyone knows that the how US has denied us the help during at the crucial times at 1963 and 1971. Okay, between in the tenure of Richard Nixon and yes, Lyndon Johnson. Okay, so we must not forget that, else we can go ahead and play our rightful role by acting as a bridge between West Asia and Europe in the Indo-Pacific. We are the player, we have the power to play a rightful role in the Indo-Pacific, because that Alfred D. Mahan also said that whosoever is control Indian Ocean control the world. Okay, so that is true, that is being true. So here India must be a leader and play a leading role. Okay, so this was for today, guys. I hope you would be understanding, and please do comment in the comment section. Okay, so that you can know the new words in these kind of editorial. There are so many new words even for me, that is sobriety, euphoria. Sobriety means the kind of self control after getting the pleasure or the, okay, so one must not get overwhelmed. Okay, stable. And euphoria means the feeling of happiness, the extreme feeling of happiness. Okay, that is euphoria. Endeavor. Okay, this is also a new word. So, and you also find out another new word. Okay, and do comment in the comment section. So till then, bye bye, signing off for the day.